Peter Valley, FBAmastery.com here. I'm going to make a bold statement right now. What you're about to witness is the first time in the history of the Amazon selling community that anyone, anywhere ever has talked about what I'm going to talk about. What you're about to learn is not covered on a single other blog post, a single other video anywhere else on the internet, and it affects every single Amazon seller. So what you're about to witness is something very special and very rare, and quite simply, it's costing you a significant amount of money. I'm covering what I call the bundle blind spot. This is a blind spot that affects scanning apps, repricing tools, and listing software that almost no Amazon sellers know exist. And when I say blind spot, I mean pricing data that is literally hidden from your app, hidden from your repricer, that cause you to make poor buying decisions, that cause your repricer to misprice your items. The implications of this are massive, and again, nobody is talking about this. So let's get into what we're going to cover. Number one, I'm going to cover what is the bundle blind spot. I'm going to define it very clearly. Number two, I'm going to give you the proof that this blind spot is real, because since nobody else is talking about this, you're very likely to be skeptical this is even real. I'm going to give you the rock solid proof. Part three, I'm going to tell you very specifically how this impacts repricing tools, scanning apps, and listing software. And then lastly, how to beat the blind spot. Once you understand what the blind spot is, I'm going to tell you how to work around it. Okay, now since I know from the statistics, very few people watch these videos all the way to the end, and you're going to miss valuable stuff if you don't. I got to get 7 facts out of the way. So if you only watch the first few minutes, you understand at least the fundamentals. Okay, so fact number one, there are 2 blind spots that affect scanning apps and repricing software. The first one is called the FBA blind spot. I covered that in a previous video in a previous article. This one covers the second blind spot, which I'm calling the bundle blind spot. And yes, I get to actually name it since I didn't discover it, but since I'm the first one to talk about it, I get to name it. So yeah, I'm giving it that stupid name, the bundle blind spot. Fact number 2, what do we mean by blind spot? Let me define it very specifically. I'm referring to pricing data that Amazon does not share with scanning apps and repricing tools. That is very specifically what we mean by a blind spot. You scan an item, you think you're seeing all the prices, you're not. You tell your repricer to compare your price to competing offers, you think it can see all those competing offers, it can't. Fact number 3, these blind spots result in 1, bad buying decisions when you're using your scanning app. 2, when you're using repricers, mispriced items, items that are literally repriced incorrectly. Or 3, also affecting repricers, items that should be repriced that aren't repriced because of the blind spot. So that's specifically how you're being impacted. Fact number 4, these blind spots are caused by secret limitations that Amazon imposes on all third-party software that is dependent on what's called their API. I'll explain what that is later. But all you have to understand right now is that Amazon restricts what data is being shared with third-party software via their API. And part of those limitations are these 2 blind spots, the one I talked about in my last video, the FBA blind spot, and the bundle blind spot. It's not that Amazon hides this, it's that they only communicate it to software developers, and those software developers don't communicate it to us, or they communicate it to their employers, the companies that make these tools, who then don't communicate it to us. So it's my job to expose this because they haven't. Fact number 5, almost no Amazon sellers even know about these 2 blind spots. Very, very few Amazon sellers know these 2 blind spots exist at all. And in fact, I would argue the only sellers that really know about these 2 blind spots are sellers that have been around for a long time. There was a small amount of conversation about the FBA blind spot about 10 or plus years ago. No conversation about the bundle blind spot, what we're going to talk about in this video, and almost no conversation about either of these, as far as I've been able to tell, in the last 5+ years. So if you're a newer seller, the chances are almost 100% you don't even know these blind spots exist. Number 6, I said these blind spots are hidden. Are they really hidden? Well, the answer is sort of. There are examples of scanning apps admitting that these blind spots do exist. So some of them have been honest, some of them have not been. When it comes to repricing tools, almost no repricing tools admit these blind spots exist. Particularly the bundle blind spot is completely hidden. And I only documented 2 repricing tools out of over 30 that admit the FBA blind spot that exists. So there's been almost a complete cover-up from the Amazon software world about these blind spots because it impacts their profits directly. If Amazon sellers knew about these blind spots, they would lose trust in these tools. And when you lose trust in the tools, you don't want to pay for them, right? So these companies depend entirely on our trust because we are trusting our business with them. And so if that trust is eroded, we're likely to not use their tools anymore. So companies are very, very sensitive about this getting out. That's why you almost never hear about it. And then number 7, as I referenced, there are ways to beat these blind spots. I'm going to get to that at the very end. Okay, guys, let's talk about something fun. So this is part 2 in a 3-part series. There was the FBA blind spot. That was part 1. This is the bundle blind spot, part 2. The third video, which will probably be out by the time you watch this, and article, documents a sting operation that I performed on repricing software companies. I wanted to find out, are they honest about the blind spot? When I put the question to them, do they admit the blind spot exists, or do they try to cover it up? And you guys, I don't want to spoil it here, but what I exposed is literally scandalous. All repricing tools are going on suicide watch once this video drops, so look for that video. Now, before we really plunge into what the bundle blind spot is, let me get this out of the way. My name is Peter Valley. I've been selling on Amazon for over 15 years at this point. I'm a super uncool web guy. I do the website FBAmaster.com. I've done that for a lot of years, and I'm a victim. I've personally been victimized specifically by the FBA blind spot I covered in my last video. I lost thousands of dollars to a dishonest pricing tool who lied to me about the blind spot. They claimed they didn't have blind spots. They did. It cost me a lot of money. So this is very, very personal for me. And the obligatory subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course. Go to FBAmastery.com, of course, and get on my email list, of course, because you can build an entire business off of what I give away for free. So why would you not do those two things right now? Subscribe, then head to FBA Mastery, link below this video. Get on my email list. Get news of this scandalous video that's coming up where I expose these repricing companies and a bunch of other stuff. I just give you tons of free stuff and I ask nothing in return. So go do it right now. Okay. Lastly, I have a much more in-depth version of this video in article form at FBAmastery.com. I'll put a link up at the top of this video and below. I'm able to go into more depth than I can in these videos in article form. So I encourage you to check out the article if you want to go even deeper into this subject. Okay, what are we about to cover? This is part 2, as I said, in a 3-part series. So tens of thousands, I don't even know how many Amazon sellers there are. Maybe it's hundreds of thousands of sellers are impacted by these blind spots, meaning their revenue is directly affected and they don't even know what's happening because these blind spots don't exactly send off alarm bells when they happen. It's not like your scanning app goes, hey, we got an item in the blind spot, or your repricing tool goes, hey, we can't reprice this because of a blind spot. That's not how it works. It just happens quietly in the background. You quietly lose money. You quietly make bad purchasing decisions. You don't know why. Your repricer quietly doesn't do what it's supposed to do. You never even notice. And quietly your revenue is getting eroded by blind spots that no one told you even exist until now. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do is recap extremely briefly what the FBA blind spot is. That's what we covered in the last video. And then I'm going to get to the bundle blind spot. It's important you know about both of these. I'm going to go really fast with the FBA one because a lot of you probably know this already. Okay, so let's recap blind spot number 1, the FBA blind spot. Any item, this is how the blind spot works. Any item that is not priced amongst the lowest 20 offers is invisible to your current scanning app or repricing software. Okay, you should be freaking out if you do not know about this, and if you're an FBA seller. Because you know that FBA offers are almost always priced above merch fulfilled offers, and they are very, very commonly outside the bottom 20. So what that means is you scan an item, the scanning app, the FBA column is blank, or you go to reprice an item, you say match the lowest offer, and your repricing tool can't do that because it can't see the lowest FBA offer because it's in the blind spot. If you don't know about this, as soon as this video ends, mandatory that you head over and watch my FBA blind spot video. The implications of this on your profits are massive. And again, you're not going to hear about this anywhere else. So again, I have a whole 20-minute video about that, but this is an example of what I'm talking about with the FBA blind spot. FBA column is blank. You're like, what's going on? You click over to Amazon. There's all these FBA offers. Why is that happening? FBA blind spot. And the impact is even more severe when it comes to repricing software because you won't even know what's happening. And you'll just quietly be losing money and not even know why. Okay, so now we're getting into it, you guys. The bundle blind spot, this is what you came for. Let's define it. I'm going to go through this slowly because it's a little bit weird. But once it clicks, it'll be very clear how this works, okay? The bundle blind spot is as follows. Your current scanning app or repricing tool is unable to see a continuous list of the lowest competing offers. You think when you scan an item and you see all the prices, that you're just getting a continuous list from lowest to highest. That is not what's happening. Instead, what Amazon does is it shows third-party tools, like scanning apps and repricing tools, a collection of bundles comprised of several offers. They call these groups. I'm calling them bundles because it sounds cooler, but they call them groups. So they'll bundle together several offers and they'll show you the lowest price from each bundle. Okay, so what are these bundles? How does this work? Well, these bundles consist of similar priced items that are grouped together by 6 different attributes. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not a tech person. A lot of this is over my head. But they look at things like feedback score of the seller, they look at the condition, then most importantly, they look at the price. And when they see similar items, they bundle them together and they display on your app and to your repricing tool as a single offer, but they're not a single offer. So what this means is no scanning app and no repricing tool can see that continuous list of lowest, second lowest, third lowest, fourth lowest. That's what you think you're seeing. But because of this blind spot, that's not at all what you're seeing. All these tools can see is groups of offers bundled together with many prices missing oftentimes. So you can see the screenshot here at the top. This is from Scoutly, where it's a scanning app company. They're actually very open about this blind spot. And they say, you can see here, it says, due to the limitations of Amazon's MWS API, you're not seeing the continuous lowest 5 used and new prices, et cetera, et cetera. They're very upfront about this. Most companies are not. So what this means is you think when you scan something, you think your app is showing you all the prices from lowest to highest, and it's simply not. You think when you use an automated repricing tool, you think it can review all your competitors and reprice your inventory accordingly. It cannot do that. It's telling you it's doing that, and it cannot do that. They're simply being dishonest. All of these tools are API dependent, and I'll get to that, what that means here in a second. And so all of them are subject to what data Amazon chooses to share through its API. So again, sorry to overstate this. I just want to make sure everyone's clear before we go forward. I don't want anyone to get left behind here. What this bundle blind spot means is that every price you see in your scanning app represents a bundle of offers, okay, not one. And then 2, you're never seeing a true order list of competing offers from lowest to highest. And this applies to repricing tools as well. It's just you don't see them visually in repricing tools, right? So it's a little bit different. Okay, so if you watch my video, read my article about the FBA blind spot, you might be sitting back being like, how is this different? And it should be obvious, but I want to be really clear. This is very, very different than the FBA blind spot, okay? And for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's actually worse. It affects more sellers. Because remember, the FBA blind spot only affects FBA sellers. And it actually affects a smaller percentage of your inventory, even as an FBA seller, than this does, the bundle blind spot. Bundle blind spot affects every seller, and it affects a much bigger quantity of offers, a much bigger quantity of products. So the impact of the bundle blind spot is significantly greater than the FBA blind spot. So you're sitting back right now, rightfully so, and you're like, I've been selling on Amazon for X amount of months, years, whatever. I've never heard about this before. I'm very skeptical. And you'd be right to be skeptical. And especially when nobody else is talking about something. You only got one crazy guy who's yelling in a video. You're like, why should I trust this Peter Valley guy? And I don't blame you. So I'm going to give you some proof. You don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to give you documented proof directly from Amazon that this bundle blind spot is a very real thing. Now, this is a little bit boring, so I don't know if I want to read all of this, but this is a screenshot of Amazon's developer documentation. Remember I said they only share this with developers? So if you actually go, it's all written in kind of text speak, okay? But I'm gonna read off the screen here, some of it. Amazon admits some, but not necessarily all, of the active offer listings for the specified product and item condition initially sorted by lowest landed price are placed in corresponding groups, and then the listing with the lowest landed price from each group is returned. So what they're saying is you've got 20 offers. They're going to only show you 13 of them. And they're going to take 7 of them and bundle them with other offers that are similar and then show you the lowest price from each one. So a bundle, let's say a bundle, let's just say on your scan app, you look at the lowest price is $10. That $10 offer could be representing $10 offer. We know that much. It takes the lowest price from the bundle. $10 offer, then a $10.15 offer, then a $10.50 offer. And it just bundles them together and shows them as one offer. Another screenshot from Amazon's developer documentation, where I won't read all of it, but it says listings are placed in offer listing groups, each group representing a combination of 6 qualifiers. Now, this is where it starts to get over my head. I know they look at seller rating and they look at condition, and again, 4 other attributes, and have some logic they apply that bundles these offers together. Now, that's what Amazon has to say. Now, other tools, namely Scoutly, I think I'm going to show most of my screenshots here from a tool called Scoutly. They're rarely upfront about the blind spot. So I have to give them credit for not covering it up the way the other tools do. So you can kind of ignore the text at the bottom here because this is just a copy of what Amazon said. But if you actually read up top, the screenshot where it says, beginning on September 1st, 2012, Amazon will no longer return pricing data in the form of what you see on Amazon.com. Remember, the only data you can ever trust is what's on Amazon, on the actual Amazon product page, okay? What you see in third-party software, you're not getting the whole story. That's the whole point of these 2 videos. So they go on to say, instead, Amazon will return pricing data to solution providers in the form of groups. It's exactly what I've been saying, right? So Scoutly, who has no incentive, by the way, to just make stuff up, right? I mean, they have in fact, they have a strong disincentive to even be divulging this because no other tools do. Scoutly's just the honest one. So there's no reason for them to make this up. This is a real thing. And again, I showed the screenshot a second ago, but here's another one from Scoutly. Due to the limitations of Amazon's API, we do not show the continuous lowest 5 used and new prices. Okay, right there, black and white. And sorry to belabor the point here. Here's another screenshot from Scoutly where Amazon says Amazon will only return the lowest price from each group back to our program. Okay, So we've established this is very well documented. I hope we can agree on that. So here's an example of how things might look on the Amazon product page and then how it will actually look in your scanning app. Remember, I keep talking about scanning apps, but actually the impact of this is much greater on repricing tools. The reason I'm not talking about repricing tools as much, at least with screenshots, is that there's no visual representation of the blind spot in repricing tools because repricing tools do all their work in the background. So it's very difficult to show you a visual of here's how your repricing tool is messing up your inventory, right? It doesn't really work that easy, but I can do it. It's a lot easier with scanning apps. So you can look here on the left on how prices might be displayed for a product on Amazon. Okay, so it's like $7.20. You look on the far left, $7.21, $7.33, $8.50. And on the right, this is how your app might show them. They'll take the $7.21 offer, $7.33 offer, and they'll just bundle them together and just show you one offer of $7.20. And then there'll be a second bundle that's just one offer of $8.50. And then a third bundle where they bundle two other offers together and show you as $9.20, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Each group or bundle represents one to several offers. Okay, they can represent one. Oftentimes there's several. And of course, that's where the trouble happens. So there's kind of this extra burden on me since so far, I'm the only one, as far as I know, even who's ever talked about this. I have to kind of over-explain stuff. So I hope you guys are cool with that. I have to explain what an API is. And this is, since this video might be the definitive historical document on this blind spot, I have to cover all the bases. Okay, so I hope you guys are cool with that. So the API is this. Lots of tools or websites / tools / anyone who has a large amount of data is often as what's called an API. And an API is how that data is shared with third-party tools. Now, it's in the interest of a website like Amazon or Walmart or anyone that has lots of data to have an API because it encourages developers to build tools on the back of their program, on the back of their website, which then encourages people to ideally patronize their website, and it just helps their business grow, and it's win-win for everybody, right? But the thing to understand is that Amazon or anyone who has an API controls what data passes through the API. Think of the API as like a tube. It's basically a tube that software companies go, hey, Amazon, can we connect this tube to your database in the form of an API? And Amazon says yes. And then if you're a software company, you make requests of certain data. Hey, I want the lowest 10 prices for this. I want to know the sales rank for that. And then Amazon, in this case, will pass that data through the tube, through the API, and say, here it is. But ultimately, Amazon is in control of what passes through the tube, right? So Amazon has certain interests that may conflict with our interests as sellers and software company interests. And they might say, you know what, we're not going to share everything. We're going to do things our way. So for example, you want the lowest 10 prices for this item. We're going to do this thing called bundling, and we're going to bundle them together, and then we're going to share that. And we have our reasons for it. And Amazon doesn't really make clear what those reasons are. They don't have to tell us. They just have to go, hey, software developers, here's this weird little thing in the fine print that you should know. And then the rest of us never even know it exists. And that's how it works. Okay, so now that we know what an API is, we know what the bundle blind spot is, we know why this happens, let's talk specifically about how the bundle blind spot ruins apps and repricing tools. Now, I'm kind of leaving listing tools out of this because I don't think the impact is as severe, even though listing tools are subject to the same limitations. Use a listing tool usually to set your initial price. But again, usually that price changes as soon as it hits the warehouse, and that's where your pricing software kicks in. So I'm kind of leaving listing software out, but if you rely heavily on your listing software to set a price and you don't reprice your inventory, I still want you to pay attention because this does impact your listing tool as well, and this will impact your business dramatically, okay? So how serious is this, you guys? Okay, so how does this specifically impact scanning apps? So we're going to start with scanning apps, and I'm going to tell you how it impacts repricing tools here in a second. Okay, so I'm going to give you a specific hypothetical. Wait, is that a thing? Specific hypothetical. Let's say you scan a book, okay? And let's say that book has a really strong sales rank of 30,000, okay? Indicating that book is selling several times a day. So you think you got a winner, right? This book's selling really, really strong. Now let's say the lowest price, and the reason that's relevant is that when you've got a book that's in really high demand or anything, you don't have to just chase the lowest price. You can get a little bit more liberal with how you price. So you want to know, okay, what's the second lowest offer? What's the third lowest offer? The item's selling so much, you don't have to just be the lowest offer, right? So that's why the sales rank is relevant to this hypothetical. Okay, so now let's say the lowest price is $12 in your scanning app. Now, you're like, that's not really that appetizing because $12 when you factor in cost of goods, maybe your profit's like 50 cents. And you're like, yeah, that's not really good. I'm not going to buy a book just to resell it for 50 cents profit. That's not worth my time. But You look a little further in your scanning app and you're like, wait a minute, the lowest offer is $12, but the second lowest is $15, right? This happens all the time. And the third lowest is $15.75, and then $16.90 and $18. And this book is selling so much, you could really potentially price it anywhere amongst those five and probably get a sale at some point. So your options open up dramatically. And all of a sudden, this book that was only going to make you 50 cents is actually very profitable. But you're like, you know what? I'm going to price this book at $15. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to price it second in line at $15. Okay. So that gets you above, let's say you got a $3 minimum threshold. So you get a profit at this point of like $3.50 or something. So you're like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Okay. So now you want to buy this book. You're sold, right? So you buy the book, you go home, you go to list it, you click over from your listing program to the Amazon page just to compare what the prices are at that moment because you're about to set a price. And all of a sudden, the prices look very, very different than they did in your scanning app. And you're very confused. You're like, did multiple other sellers list this in just a couple hours since I scanned it at the store? This is what you see on the Amazon page. $12, $12.05, $12.33, $12.49, and then the $15 offer. So you thought the $15 offer was number 2, was second in line. All of a sudden now it's 5th or 6th, 5th. So you're like, that's weird. Why does that happen? And you kind of just write it off as a fluke. You're like, maybe I guess a bunch of people listed it for sale, or maybe it was a glitch with the scanning app, and you're not really sure. But you know something's wrong, but you kind of just move past it. This has happened to all of us at some point. In fact, this happens to all of us regularly. Okay. And I think we always just kind of brush it off. We're like, it's kind of weird, but we don't really know how to explain it. So we just move on, right? Well, what you don't realize is you just got hit by the bundle blind spot. Now you're stuck with this book that really isn't that profitable after all. Now you got to be like 6th in line just to turn a profit where you thought you had to be 2nd. So you never would have bought this book if you would have known this information. If your scanning app had actually showed you the correct data, you never would have purchased this book. It's a big, big difference between what the app showed and what actual reality reflects on the Amazon page. So you guys see now the impact this can have on your sourcing? Okay, now let's get to how the bundle blind spot destroys repricing tools. And the impact of the bundle blind spot on repricing tools is vastly greater than with scanning apps. With scanning apps, it's kind of an annoyance and it can result in some bad buying decisions. But when it comes to repricing tools, it is devastating. It makes repricing software unusable. So there's 3 main reasons for that. So let's get into it. So number 1, because repricing tools can't guarantee it can see the second, third lowest and beyond merch fulfilled or FBA offer, because it can't see anything beyond the lowest, at least with any certainty, they force you to chase the lowest price. You're only able to compare your offer against the lowest priced offer, which is utter insanity. Like, I can't, utterly insane that there's even a repricing software industry where you can only chase the lowest price. You can't say, hey, I want to price $1 above the second lowest price, or I want to price 10% lower than the third lowest price, or I want to price a dollar above the lowest price unless the second lowest price is less than $1. You can't reprice with any level of precision. All you can do is the most basic drug addict style repricing, which you're just constantly chasing the lowest price down. That's all you can do with current repricing software. Utterly insane. I mean, do you ever sit back and wonder, like, if you use a repricing tool, you must have thought this at some point, or probably every day, which is, why am I not allowed to do the most basic function of a repricing tool, which is price against at least the bottom 3 offers, at the very least? Like, why would you not be able to do that? No repricing tool offers that. It's the most obvious feature in the world. Not a single one offers it except for one. Get to that in a second. It's craziness. And most of us just go, oh, well, that's because repricing tools must just be incompetent and there's nothing we can do about it. That's not the case. They literally can't because of this blind spot. So what that means is when you're using repricing tools, you are a slave to the lowest price. And all you can do is continue to chase that price downward, and you're left with no other option. And of course, this is devastating to your profits because there's nothing magical about the lowest price. The lowest price is just the lowest price at this moment. There's nothing like special about it. Very often, in fact, most of the time, pricing above the lowest price is actually the most intelligent move. Your current repricer doesn't let you do it. Or actually, that brings us to number 2. It does let you do it, but in a way that's completely useless. So number 2 way that the bundle blind spot ruins repricing tools is that when they allow you to price above the lowest offer, if you choose to do that, it's completely, utterly meaningless because you can't see what the second or third lowest offer is. So let's just say you're like, all right, cool. I want to price $1 above the lowest offer. Guess what? That is a useless feature, which almost all repricing tools offer. It's useless. Because what if your offer lowest price is $12? And you, all right, cool, dollar above the lowest offer. Sounds right, but guess what? Since it can't see the second or third lowest, what if the second lowest is $12.25? And the third lowest is $12.50? And the fourth, fifth, and sixth lowest are all under $13, which is what your price is now, pricing a dollar above. Then guess what? You thought you were second in line, you're like eighth in line. Total insanity, right? Utterly useless. But that is the reality of current repricing software. And that is because of the bundle blind spot. Okay, number three, and this is kind of similar to number one, but a little bit different. You are unable to just simply say, hey, repricing tool, I want to ignore the lowest price. I just do not care about the lowest price. Just ignore it. It's impossible. You are chained to the lowest price. Your current repricing tool, it's the only thing that your repricer can guarantee is that it can see the lowest price. It can't guarantee second or third. It can't guarantee lowest FBA. And by the way, if you didn't watch my last video and this is news to you, you're going to have a seizure when you watch that video. Your current repricing tool cannot guarantee that it can match or price against the lowest FBA price or see it at all. Sorry if that's news to you. You didn't watch my last video. You're probably freaking out. You probably should freak out. But back to the bundle blind spot. You are unable to untether yourself to the lowest price and do anything. Okay, which begs the question, all right, Peter Valley, this video has been really negative. How do we beat the bundle blind spot? Is there anything we can do? And the answer is yes, sort of. Yes, and yes, sort of. It depends what we're talking about here. Okay, let's start with the scanning apps. How do you beat the blind spot with your scanning app? So the answer is really simple. If you scan an item and you think, based on the data that I'm looking at here, I think I might want to price higher than the lowest offer, which you should a significant percentage of the time, by the way. So the rank's really strong. You're like, you know what? I don't need to be tethered to the lowest price. I want to price higher. If that in that situation, click over to the Amazon page from your scanning app to actually see what actually is happening on Amazon, not just how the items are bundled together, which is all you see in your scanning app. So if you think you want to price higher than the lowest offer, click over to Amazon. It's annoying, but it's the only way to beat it. Okay, now let's talk about how to beat the blind spot with repricing software. Okay, so number one is annoying, but the only way to reprice with like ultimate precision is to reprice manually. Now, yes, this is like time prohibitive once you have more than, like 100 items in your inventory. It becomes really challenging. Ultimately, it is the best way to ensure your inventory is getting repriced exactly the way it should based on the exact data on the Amazon page, okay? And I gotta mention, I did found a repricing tool solely to solve this problem because I was so personally frustrated with the blind spots that affected other repricing tools. So I founded a tool called NeuroPrice. And NeuroPrice beats both blind spots, the FBA blind spot and the bundle blind spot. It is the precision of manual repricing with the automation of repricing software. So it's the best of all worlds. We have no blind spots simply because we work inside of Amazon. So we leverage the data that's already there. So basically, we've eliminated our dependence on Amazon's API, which is what all the other repricing tools depend on. So we can guarantee 100% of the time we can reprice against the lowest FBA offer, and we have no blind spots. You can price against the second or third lowest offer. Any combination of above or below percentage or dollar amount, we got you covered. Again, I built this to solve my own problem because I've spent years being frustrated by the existing repricing tools out there. Okay, so that is that. And I put a link above this video and below this video if you want to start the free trial. Check that out. Free means free, so you can prove it's as good as I say it is. Okay, so what did we learn, you guys? So number one, Amazon bundles pricing data together into groups before sharing it with third-party software. Number two, this limitation prevents scanning apps and repricers from seeing anything other than the lowest priced offer. This means you're not seeing all pricing data in your app or your repricer. And the bundle blind spot can be beaten, but it just takes a little extra work. So you guys, we covered a lot of ground. You now have a 3-part mission. Are you ready? You didn't know there was going to be homework. Don't worry, this is fun homework. Okay, so number one, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you got value from this video, there's no reason not to. Hit the button below this video and subscribe right now. Mission number two, head over to FBAmastery.com. Get all the free stuff you see here, free web classes, free reports. You can build a whole business off of what I give away for free. There's a link below this video to that. Mission number three, take what you learned in this video and put it into practice. Go make money with it. Otherwise, you just wasted your time. So actually, now that you understand the blind spot, figure out how are you not going to be victimized by it, whether that's signing up for the free trial for NeuroPrice, whether that's repricing manually, whether that's just spending more time clicking over from your scanning app, whatever you have to do, don't be victimized by this blind spot. Take what you learned in this video, put it into practice. Thank you guys so much. Peter Valley signing off, and I will catch you in the next video.